Today on Callout, Nelson Sar gets a taste of reality when their Swiftwater training course becomes an actual mission.
Let's just get the experienced guys down here.
Yeah, copy that.
And later, making the grade on the Swiftwater team.
He's underneath!
Sunday, 8 a.m. Members of Nelson's search and rescue are gathering for the last day of an intensive 3-day Swiftwater rescue course when instructor Chris Armstrong receives a call.
Okay, hold on.
South Columbia Search and Rescue need a Swiftwater team and are requesting immediate assistance.
We'll take care of it. I'll call him right now and get this going.
Instinctively, the team moves quickly to reload the rafts and equipment for travel.
I've got like 14 people, so we'll just make it an exercise. We'll go down there.
For this group of students, what began as a mock exercise to wrap up their Swiftwater course has just become an actual search and rescue mission. They're experienced SAR volunteers, but Swiftwater rescue is new to most of them.
Beaver Valley's been on a search here for...
An older local man from a neighboring community has been missing for over a day and a half. He was last seen socializing with friends by a small creek near his home. In this case, there is little chance that the missing man is alive.
When we get called out to these type of rescues, unless someone's out on a rock and calling for help, 70+% of the time, it's going to be recovery.
The team travels 60 kilometers south towards the town of Fruitvale. At the creek, they are met by South Columbia and Castlegar Search and Rescue.
You see those chairs? Right?
That's where he was?
Meters up, that's where he was.
These ground SAR teams have already searched the banks of the creek, but not the actual waters. That's a job for the Swiftwater specialists.
When we enter these areas, we wear thermal protection because we're working in very cold water. We have a lot of skills and equipment that allow us to enter these environments, search it safely, and make sure no one is going to get hurt.
Chris, this water is steady to here. So we've got big water here, bigger water here, and bigger water here.
Downstream from where they stand, the creek connects with two other streams, which significantly increases its volume and strength.
Is there any natural catchment, a log jam, a strainer, anything?
There's a real big strainer down here.
Okay.
They don't think anything will get past there.
So that's probably where I'm going to go first.
The strainer in this case is a log jam where fallen trees have created a sieve-like barrier. Any body or object floating down the creek will likely be trapped by this log jam.
That will be our bottom perimeter. I need to go and make sure that a body can't get through there. I'll take a team of 4 down there.
They form 3 teams made up of members with different skill sets and experience levels to maximize efficiency. Chris Armstrong will lead Team Charlie downstream to the logjam. If nothing is found there, the team will make their way upstream. Team Papa will start in the area around the point last seen. Team Romeo will search the midpoint.
Everybody understand what's going on? Are we taking any risks for a dead person? No. None at all. Anyone who enters the water, even if it is this deep, is tethered. Why?
Chris takes a moment to remind everyone of the importance of personal safety.
You can walk across a river that's, knee deep. That's fine, you have control. But the moment you fall down and all that surface area hits the full size of your body, you're no longer in control. The river's going to take you where it wants.
Pat, take us where we're taking.
The 2 teams tasked with searching downstream walk along a private road, which runs parallel to the creek. Team Romeo, led by Callie Chatton, heads for the midpoint on the creek between point last seen and the logjam. They mark their entry point into the thick bush with flagging tape. This will help the other teams to join them at the river if they locate the subject.
So, Sam, you're going to be our radio man and safety. You're a solid belay anchor. You're the sharp end of the stick.
Everything they've learned about Swiftwater behavior is being put to good use.
It's a much more likely entrapment point. Even though that looks like a hole that might stick, that's much more likely because of the undercut and the holding.
We look to understand what's happening beneath the surface of the water. There's a big difference between perceived hazards and actual hazards in the water. What looks nice and calm can actually pose the greatest threat.
Well, we're doing a little bit of a shoreline search here, looking for possible entrapment points. And
at our location. We're going to need the rest of the swift water team mustered to our location.
Less than half an hour into the search, and Team Charlie has found the missing subject.
Lulu, this is Team Romeo. I'll get my team together and we'll respond with it.
We're trying to find access to the river to find this log jam, to make sure that it was a complete, catchment of the current. On the second spot we looked, not even 40 feet from the river's edge, we found him. He hadn't even made it to the log jam.
Doug, we got a coat forward. We're all going down to the end.
As Team Romeo and Team Papa move towards a rendezvous point, Chris Armstrong radios SAR Command with a special request.
We're going to need a stretcher, a wheel, bag, and the wrap kit. And for our team, let's just get the experienced guys down here. Yeah, copy that. Dealing with bodies is an unpleasant thing. It's not for everybody. Those who have done it and are okay with it to this point, it's best to keep them from doing it. We have enough people that are kind of already poisoned by that kind of event.
For Chris Clark, a rookie SAR member, this is his first exposure to a deceased subject.
I've never been in that situation before. I've never handled a lifeless body. So I was definitely a little shocked, but the water's pretty unforgiving. So the expectation in the swiftwater world is that, most of the time, your subject isn't going to be alive anymore.
So get me on tether upstream here, and I'll just go out there and secure him. Pop him off, and he's going to pendle him over, and then Chris and I will just pull him up on shore. Good with that? Sure?
He was with me when we found it. We talked about it. He wanted to continue. This is a good opportunity in a safe environment with people that he trusts to go through this process.
Recovering a body that has been battered by the water for 38 hours is not a pleasant job, but it has to be done.
Like say Sheila, go out to where the trail started, stay there, then Chris go out, meet up the other team and bring them in.
The crew must now flag the path to the main road. There, the other teams are on standby, awaiting further instructions.
Back. I'll call in, find out how much we need.
I've sent the other 3 members out to help bring the equipment in and what have you. There's 4. Whenever you're dealing with a body, especially with your members, you got to keep them busy. We don't want them to stand here over top of a deceased, thinking about it, reflecting on how they feel, doing those system checks in their head, thinking, oh, am I okay with this? Am I okay with this?
As requested by the coroner, Chris Armstrong documents the scene before moving the body.
It basically shows that there's, they have documentation that there isn't foul play, that it's natural, it's a natural catchment. They have all that information to make any decisions they have to do.
It wasn't until we had actually pulled him onto the bank and turned him over that there was a little more gravity to the fact that this person had passed on. Yeah, still just kept focused and followed direction and was there to help.
The single-wheeled stretcher arrives as Charlie team finishes packaging the body. Meanwhile, Team Papa clears a trail to the road to make extraction easier. Nothing can ever fully prepare someone for the first exposure to the grim reality of death. But training helps.
Okay, good job, guys. Very
On this last day of a 3-day swiftwater training course, These river rookies passed a difficult and unexpected test in the field.
I don't know exactly how to feel at this moment. I just know that it's a part of life and that happens to us all, you know. No, it wasn't. So I'm just happy that we found them and we got them out of there, for sure.
Some members on this course definitely got more than they were bargaining for. But at the end of the day, they're with search and rescue. This is the work that we do. They're going to leave this with knowledge. They'll be stronger for it.
Now, making the grade as a swiftwater and flood technician.
All those who hit it had their head up, down, and the other ones turned way too late.
I need you to do a body roll.
Friday, 12 noon on the banks of the Slocan River in southeastern British Columbia.
Instructor Chris Armstrong is training a group of SAR members in swiftwater rescue.
Go, one after the other.
About half the students are river rookies. The rest, seasoned veterans, are taking the 3-day refresher to stay certified.
Downstream. Try it again.
Everyone is here to learn how to rescue themselves and others.
Now, what are my hazards? 2 exposed rocks. One of them is a bit of an eddy behind it. The other one is a hole.
An eddy is typically a calm spot where the water is almost still or moving gently. A hole, on the other hand, is formed when water pours over top of a rock.
Behind large rocks, holes can be deep enough to trap a person or boat underwater.
Though large holes can be dangerous, smaller ones can offer a refuge for someone being swept uncontrollably downriver.
So what we're going to do is we're going to try to catch this hole in the river. To do it, we're going to set ourselves upstream, come down defensive, lining ourselves up in the current so that we're going to pass on the river left side of that hole. Just before we get to the rock, we're going to turn offensively and swim, trying to catch the hole right behind the rock. That's where the water's collecting and being pulled in, and it's the strongest. We can catch it up there, it's much easier than further down. Get back!
Students start out making the typical mistake of traveling with their bottoms down and heads up. They learn quickly that swimming defensively involves lying flat with your bottom up and head back to avoid submerged objects.
All those who hit it had their head up, down, when they went to look where they're going to swim, and the other ones turned way too late.
Students that turn too late are swept downriver. After a rather bumpy start, they get better at switching from defensive to offensive swimming and finding the sanctuary of the hole.
Oh, he's in there. Nice. Go now, Steve. Turn.
In the next exercise, students learn how to maneuver out of the powerful current and into a large eddy. Proper swiftwater technique involves split-second timing because you're moving so quickly downriver. At just the right moment, the students need to roll their bodies out of the current and over top of the eddy line, a well-defined series of small whirlpools that forms where an eddy meets the downstream moving current.
It's always tough to get over that eddy line. Even that one, it doesn't seem that strong, but when your legs are getting pulled down the river, you got to roll, get over that fence, get into that calm water and swim in. You don't roll, it'll just drag you down the river. Takes technique. Doesn't matter how strong you are. It's your biggest muscle. All together hard.
Mind your breathing. This next piece of training is desensitization. Finding a nice big hole where we can swim it, do rescues out of it, put boats in it, flip, get tossed, get desensitized. Good safe place to feel the force of the river, not be in that much danger. So when we have to go someplace like this and perform a rescue, we've been there, we've done it, we know what it feels like, and we're okay with it. Come on, fight, 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 fight! There we go. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
A trainee disappears under the raft. The students become concerned. Chris is not.
So Well, it's real good, guys. Everybody's swimming really well. We're on the first afternoon. We're just about finishing up, and everybody's already at the level we need, which is great, which means we'll step it up even more. You'll get more out of the course. It's awesome.
Day 2, 10 a.m.
So yesterday we got a fair bit done. So now we're pretty much ahead of the game. So I'm going to try to get these guys doing a lot of rescue scenarios.
We've got an injured person we need to get across a creek or a small area, or maybe we have to go out as a group, pluck somebody off a rock and bring them back. This is how we're going to do it.
The day begins with one of the most basic forms of rescue, a wade rescue.
Now what's the flotation going to do to me out there? It's going to pick me up, right? So what can Ola do to help me out? He can grab my lapels and he can weight me. So as I'm going out there, he can stand in my eddy where it's easy to stand. He can push down on me. Two of us can definitely get further than one. Get in behind Doug. Remember, you're pushing him forward and down, and you're keeping in line so everybody's working in that eddy that Doug's creating. See if you can hold it together. Push, push, push him forward, push him forward.
As the water gets deeper, the team becomes more buoyant and they are swept off their feet. A wade rescue works best when the water level is below the PFD, or personal flotation device.
Start talking to him.
In higher waters, a throw line is often used to pluck people from the water.
So make sure you only offer them the rope by putting the bag well over their head. Rope!
The subject grabs it and is then pulled to safety in a pendulum motion.
That wasn't too bad. You know, the more attempts you make, the easier it gets, more confident you feel.
If the subject is unconscious, injured, hypothermic, or otherwise unable to grab onto the rope, the rescuer will swim out to the subject while being tethered to other team members. This method is called live bait swim. The students practice the live bait rescue until they get it right.
Get down, get down, down! Good job. Well done. It's exactly what we're looking for. Good rope management. Got him in nice and clean. Waited for the signal. We're going to stop down in the crazy spot and we'll go for a swim down there.
British Columbia's fast-moving rivers tend to undercut their banks, causing trees to fall, creating dangerous log jams. Getting washed under a knot of trees can mean death by drowning, unless you know how to save yourself. Chris has set up various unnerving scenarios in which the students have to rescue themselves.
This is pretending to be at the leading edge of a log, a sweeper, a strainer, or maybe even a log jam. What happens if we go under it? We die.
Assistant Swiftwater course instructor Patrick McIver demonstrates how to get out of the entrapment.
You gotta get calm, head back, get a knee up, fins go down, stand up, walk off. That was textbook. Let's go do it, one after the other. Nice and calm. Try again, catch your breath. Good, good job. As soon as you put a knee up, both your hands go down. You got to stabilize with your arms.
Other students follow. None as graceful as Pat, but eventually, their perseverance pays off.
He's a fish. Check for guilt. When you're ready, flop down. Okay.
Further downriver, Chris simulates another all-too-common hazard, a foot entrapment. This could be a submerged branch that needs to be broken, or clothing that must be cut away or ripped clear of the entrapment. Remaining calm and focused while fighting the full force of the current requires serious commitment. Panic will ultimately lead to drowning.
You had it twice. Remember, get your free hand to the string and hold it, and then bring the scissors to it. job.
The final exercise is not mandatory, but no one sits it out.
If we come in trapped on our PFD, it's an exercise to mentally imprint how to get out of that PFD. We're actually going to put them on a tether, shove them to the bottom. They're going to become trapped. They have to find their buckles, get it undone, and get out. Come on, fight, 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 fight. There he goes. There he is. It's real good, guys. So let's grab up our gear. Let's go get the boats to the trailer. Let's go get warm and have a beer.
After 2 physically and mentally demanding days, this group of dedicated volunteers is one step closer to becoming certified flood and swiftwater technicians. Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Callout, a young girl lies semi-conscious at the edge of a fast-moving river as Kent Harrison Search and Rescue race to the scene.
Are you able to do a hover exit down where they are?
And later, SAR teams go deep for a missing subject in the Upana cave system on Vancouver Island.
We may have a stroke victim, somebody who's not able to respond.
If a HETS rescue is not possible, Plan C is a conventional rope rescue, lowering an attendant down the cliff to package the patient and carry her out. It's a safe, but very time-consuming method.
So we're just getting a swiftwater team together. Then we're going to bring up the raft, which is approximately 300 meters upstream from where we are now.
The raft team includes team leader Dan Bruneski, Jason Gill, Kelly Greaves, and trainee paramedic Josh Anderson. They launch the raft from the staging area just above the Chehalis Bridge. The team will work their way upriver into the canyon against the swift-moving current to get to the injured subject.
The water, when we went in, was nice and calm. We were able to paddle upstream, no problem. And then when we came around the corner, there was a set of rapids.
The team has no choice but to get out, hoist themselves, then the raft over the rocks. Just beyond the rapids, close to where the subject is located, a police officer is exiting the RCMP Air 2 helicopter. Team leader Dan Bruneski instructs the crew to begin moving over the rapids where surging water and slippery rocks challenge their every step. Raft member Jason Gill loses his footing, but manages to grab a rock before getting swept downriver. He pulls himself up and the team continues on. Upriver, an RCMP officer tosses them a throw bag containing a length of rope.
So they threw that back to us. We tied that onto the raft and they assisted us in pulling the raft up through the rapid.
It took about 25 minutes for the raft team from when we arrived on scene to actually reach the subject.
When the team gets to Amy, they fear the worst.
Hey, Amy, can you talk to me, Amy?
Excuse my hat?
When I looked at her, she was totally, looked like she was totally unconscious, wasn't moving at all.
Okay. Definitely head injury, for sure.
So then I made sure she was breathing and she had, her heart was beating. Stabilized the neck, made sure she was out of the water. I just focused basically on the patient.
She definitely has head and neck injuries.
The information is immediately relayed to Neil, who is moved to the staging area just below the rapids.
At this point now we had communication with everybody and we could better determine a course of action.
There's rapids between here and there. We can't transport a spinal on the raft.
Using a raft to get Amy down the river is not going to work. Neil considers Plan B, a helicopter longline rescue. Although he has a helicopter waiting on standby, it would take about 40 minutes for the SAR team to equip the aircraft and prepare for a lift. Right now, with a potential spinal or head injury, every second is critical.
Yeah, they're concerned about transporting her on the raft down the rapids with a spinal. Are you able to do a hover exit down where they are?
Neil now considers a fourth option, Plan D, using an RCMP helicopter to do a hover entry.
Just have to make sure they secure the area, of course, and
The RCMP pilot will hover just inches above the rocky ground, while the rescue team gently loads the patient into the helicopter.
Yes, we copy that, and yeah, we can get her ready for transport. Roger that, let's try that then.
A hover entry maneuver is a fast way to extract the patient, but there are obvious risks. Downwash from the helicopter will be very intense. The inflatable raft must be held down by some of the rescue team, so it will not get lifted off the ground and become a hazard.
Ready for transport. Roger that, confirm air 2, raft team is ready.
The RCMP pilot slowly approaches the rescue team. Staying low and carefully moving over the slippery rocks, they gently add the weight of the patient into the aircraft. With the patient loaded into the helicopter, The RCMP technical flight officer climbs aboard, and Air 2 slowly lifts off and climbs straight up and out of the canyon.
Command, Air 2. Go Air 2. Check, we have my TFO on board, the patient en route to the medevac helicopter. Roger that, thank you.
The extraction goes smoothly, and Amy is flown to a nearby school field where an air ambulance awaits. Mission completed, the raft team makes its way back to the staging area for the debriefing. It turns out that Amy did not suffer critical spinal or head injuries and will recover fully from her ordeal.
I'm kind of okay with it, but I think next time I'll just go with my gut straight off the bat.
In hindsight, Neil's rescue plan B, extraction by helicopter longline, would have been ideal.
On reflection now, knowing that her condition was not as grave as we were led to believe, there were other ways and other methods we could have used, which possibly would have been a little bit safer, but would have taken considerably longer.
For this group of volunteers, every mission presents a valuable learning opportunity. And with an average of 1 call-out per week, there's no shortage of new challenges. Now, rescue teams search for a missing subject in the Upana Cave system on Vancouver Island.
Underground. I repeat, heart rate 60.
Thursday, 12:20 p.m. 20 meters underground in the Upana Caves on northern Vancouver Island, an initial response team of cave rescuers search for a missing elderly man.
Chris and I and one of the IRT members will go in and begin rigging for access.
At the trailhead to the caves, where additional rescue teams are assembling, a witness is interviewed about the missing subject.
And he wasn't there, so then I saw
With
him.
little in the way of preparation, the two had set out early in the day to explore the caves. Equipped with only helmets and small headlamps, it wasn't long before they lost each other in the dark underground maze. The subject, Ken Laidlaw, has now been missing for almost 6 hours. To complicate matters, he's susceptible to strokes, and it's unknown whether he's taken his daily medication. But this is not a live rescue. This is Cave Rescue Boot Camp.
Basically, like a basic training situation where you come in and we take you right through to 10 o'clock every night, limited meal breaks, no lunch breaks, right from Saturday night right through to the following Saturday afternoon. And the idea is that we tend to put people under the same sort of pressure that they would be in a real situation, but with a very strong emphasis on mutual support and teamwork.
Organized by BC Cave Rescue, this state-of-the-art seminar attracts cave explorers from all over the world, some as far away as Australia. It takes place every 2 years on Vancouver Island, which has the most cave systems of anywhere in Canada. Among them, the spectacular Upana Caves near Gold River, an impressive network of 6 individual limestone caves connected by 450 meters of tunnels, pits, constrictions, and low passages. There are 15 known entrances to this system, with caverns reaching depths as low as 25 meters underground. All this makes the Upana Caves the perfect staging area for a complicated cave rescue scenario. Similar to a ground search and rescue mission, the first team on scene carries out a hasty search, quickly sweeping the main corridors of the entire subterranean labyrinth. But they're wasting their time. Knowing from the initial interview that the missing subject was poorly equipped, the response team should have deduced that a large section of the cave was inaccessible to the subject, who was not equipped with ropes. These areas could have been instantly ruled out and their energies applied elsewhere. That was mistake number 1 in their evaluation, but not the only one.
Although the initial response team was very quick to arrive, they brought with them no means of communicating back to the base, and consequently went into the cave with no plan about when they were going to report back or how they were going to report back, and they didn't even take the proper equipment.
You have not found him?
No.
Here's some information that I'm just going to interject as information you didn't have. We may have a stroke victim, in which case we may have somebody who's not able to respond, and he may have been anywhere just around the corner or under something. So this is going to change the plan because we're going to have to research some of that area, I believe.
That's what we were going back in to do.
As more help arrives, the participants quickly fall into their assigned roles. 3 teams go in for the second, more thorough search. Dirt 1, Dirt 2, and Dirt 3, along with an underground communications team.
Surface, please give underground a sit rep.
In the old days, rescue teams would have had to unravel telephone lines behind them. Nowadays, contact with the surface is made possible thanks to a portable low-frequency radio system, which is capable of sending signals through dense rocks. At the surface, the communications officer sets up his antenna at the spot where the signal is strongest, directly above the underground team.
We generally want to maintain radio contact every half hour, also transmit vital signs and information about the patient and what's going on underground so that surface has some idea. Surface, antenna positioned. Proceed with report. Over.
Also above ground are the search coordinators. They're responsible for overseeing rescue operations, assigning tasks, and keeping track of team members and equipment.
Do you have the master list?
At the staging area, the medical team and rigging teams stand by. Their task will begin as soon as the subject is located. Inside the cave, it's pitch black. One wrong step and they risk plummeting down a pitch. Every nook and cranny is searched in case the subject did suffer a stroke and is unable to call back or move.
I'd go back here.
12:45. Dirt Team 1 finds the subject in the lower caverns. He has not suffered a stroke, but his ankle is injured and he's unable to walk on his own. Although it's summertime, the temperature down here is about 5 degrees Celsius. Cold temperature is a common issue in cave rescue. In fact, Ken Laidlaw, who is playing the role of the subject in this exercise, is now mildly hypothermic after spending 3 hours underground waiting for rescue.
Underground. Vitals of Ken.
The situation is reported to the surface.
Surface, proceed, over.
Underground. I repeat, heart rate 60.
The problem that they face is there's only one way they can get the necessary gear in, and that involves about a 20-meter drop, but a fairly straight stretcher route through the cave. They're now rigging that 20-meter pitch and starting to get personnel and the gear down into the cave.
The rigging team has carefully prepared rope systems to allow the stretcher team to worm their way through the cave system and to access the subject. The rescuers now brace themselves for the hardest part of the mission, evacuating the subject. The exit route contains a host of hazards, including slippery surfaces, rock falls, and tight tunnels, and poses 2 major challenges: a 4-meter vertical pitch into the main cave and a 3-meter extremely narrow slot into the upper passage.
Once the patient is secured and our rigging team is ready behind us at this lift, they'll be attaching ropes to the head of the stretcher and lifting the stretcher up in a vertical manner until we can get it up to the top of this pitch.
After 45 minutes, the patient is ready to be lifted.
Lift him up. Okay, up easy, up slow.
One of the more technical parts here, so always the most difficult is going from the vertical to the horizontal. It's one of the more challenging parts we have underground. It requires a lot of different rope systems, a lot of coordination between a lot of people.
The rescuers clear the first pitch, but as soon as the patient is hauled through a tight tunnel, they come face to face with the second obstacle: a 35-centimeter wide slot to the upper passage.
Right now we're just
setting up a raising system to raise the stretcher up a vertical pitch of about 6 meters.
We kind of have a need for rope protector staff.
Despite the crowded space, low ceilings, and dark and damp environment, the teams stay focused and composed.
Stress we try to minimize by training and preparing. So that's one of the main points of doing exercises and practices such as this. In longer cave rescues, which can last many days, fatigue becomes an issue, and hypothermia, and the chances of accidents taking place in that situation is greater. So we try to minimize that risk.
You guys are ready? Do it. Okay, start hauling. Slow, very slow. We're gonna pop around. You're doing, Ken, just watch your arm.
Right now, Ken is being raised up our second pitch, which we call double trouble. We estimate that's going to take about half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we're going to have him out to daylight, probably no more than half an hour after that.
The stretcher just barely fits through the constricted passage. 3:30 p.m., 5 hours after the initial hasty search, they finally surface. But there's one more obstacle, a 20-meter cliff separating them from the closest access road.
And the stretcher is ready.
After working in dark, cramped spaces all day, this last challenge seems like a breeze. It took over 2 hours to find the subject, and another 3 hours to move him through only 120 meters of underground passages. In a real cave incident, subjects may be thousands of meters from the nearest entrance. But these volunteer rescuers are now well prepared for such a challenge.
When it's all over and done with, and people realize that they've survived this week of extremely hard stuff to do with cave rescue, they can say, ha, I survived boot camp or Gold River, and you know, I can deal with this situation because it's something they've had before. They've been tired, they've been cold, they've been exhausted, and they're still putting out.
Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Callout, Parks Canada Search and Rescue are busy hauling hikers off Canada's West Coast Trail. And later, SAR rookie Sibylla Helms is put to the test.
I was actually in disbelief. I thought they were running a scenario on me. It was my very first day here.
One makes it, and when they don't, invariably the West Coast Trail Search and Rescue Team gets the call.
So the two primary ways we access people that are injured on the West Coast Trail are by boat or helicopter, float plane. And to be able to do that and provide that service, you have to have trained staff that know the area like the back of their hand, and that's 90% of the training we do is local knowledge training, and it comes with years and years of collective experience here.
So we just tied her up really tight.
The 5-member rescue team lives and works together at their base in Port Renfrew, located at the south end of the trail. 2 members are always on call 24/7 during the 5-month hiking season. Working 8-day shifts, the teams cross over every Friday to share information, strategize, and maintain equipment. 11:05 a.m. Danielle and Sibylla have arrived at Walbren Creek to evacuate the injured subject. They anchor about 100 meters offshore, knowing full well that closer in, just below the surface, jagged volcanic rocks are poised to rip the drive shafts right out of the rib's powerful engines. Even if they made it in, heavy shore surf could swamp the boat in a heartbeat. Then they would all be stranded. A small inflatable tender will be used by the team to row ashore.
Okay, we're off. Our most dangerous spot is right in the surf zone. So when the waves are coming in, it's really easy to turn a boat and the waves can flip you. And that's when there's opportunity to get pinned under the boat, to get swamped. You know, that's when hypothermia comes in.
With Danny keeping a watchful eye, Sibylla times the landing to ride the crest of a larger wave high up onto the beach. They pull the tender clear of the surf and the rising tide. On shore now, the team moves into the medical phase. All team members have, at a minimum, advanced wilderness first aid training.
Okay, so is it okay if I'm just going to open it up and take a look?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There was an emergency doc in the team today.
Oh, okay.
So she did some assessing as well.
Okay, and what did she say?
A lot of hikers run into doctors on the trail and they say, oh yeah, a doctor said this and a doctor said that and so gave me these painkillers and this and that. Then we're assuming that that person knows what they're doing, and you know, I didn't meet the doctor, I don't know who they are. So we always have to make sure we go in and look at the injury or the complaint, ask about the mechanism of injury, just so we get a bit more history and detail on what we're dealing with.
All right, so it's possible you might have something right in there then, right?
I immobilized her shoulder with triangle bandages. Just made sure it was up against her body and she couldn't move it. So if we did move, that it would move with her body rather than flopping around, which would cause her a lot of pain, maybe make it worse. Our whole goal is to get her to help where she can get an x-ray in a hospital.
Today, the surf is low. The ride out to the rib will be relatively smooth.
We were really lucky because Walbren is a bit of a steeper beach and it can get to be pretty crazy in there with the waves, so all the stars aligned for that woman today. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in, Danny? Yeah. Okay.
Danny will stay with Masanda, but helps launch Sibylla, who's taking the camping gear and Masanda's 2 hiking partners to the rib. Heading into the surf can be tricky and often dangerous when the waves are large. The boat can easily take on water over the bow and be swamped. As the hikers wait for Masanda to be brought to the rib, one describes the accident, typical of many on this challenging trail.
They were about 10 minutes behind me. And so I stopped, took my pack off, went back towards, and as they started coming, like, hurry, hurry, you know, the tide's coming in, and as the waves were just starting to lap up at the shelf. Just before she got a foothold, she just, I don't know what foot, it had to be probably the inside foot, just went out, and she went down, and then slid into the water. I'm like, ouch, you know, but she didn't get up. Like, just like, oh, she's really hurt. I was like, you can hear the sound of pain.
Transferring injured subjects from the tender into the rib is difficult, even in calm seas. During the move, the severity of Masanda's injury becomes evident.
You okay? Awesome. Do you need any loosening at all?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, we're gonna get everything on the boat now.
After deflating the tender and stowing it on board, they get underway. The bouncy 50-minute ride back to Port Renfrew is at times painful, but a small price to pay for rescue off the trail. They arrive at the SAR base in Port Renfrew to sunny skies For Danny and Sibylla, there's paperwork to take care of and equipment to get ready. They never know when the next call-out will happen on the trail. But there's one thing they do know for sure. It will happen. Monday, 10:30 a.m. at the Carmana Lighthouse Station, kilometer 44 on the West Coast Trail, and the Parks Canada Search and Rescue Team are having a busy day.
We've got 2 calls going on right now, both of them low urgency, but we've had to split up. Shannon's on her way to Camper Creek to pick up a hiker with an injured knee. I'm on my way to Cribbs Creek by foot to pick up a hiker's backpack who's got an injured knee.
Like many parts of the West Coast Trail shoreline, Cribbs Creek has very heavy surf, making it extremely difficult to land a boat. Jeff will hike the 2 kilometers to Cribbs Creek, assess the injured subject, then carry her gear back to the lighthouse. The subject, Emily Parsons of Ontario, will make her way there as well with her hiking partner. They will all stand by for evacuation by Shannon on the rib once her mission is complete. Walking the 2-kilometer stretch of beach will take Jeff approximately 30 minutes.
So in the presentation outline, we'll cover permits, tide table information. I'll show you how to read the tide charts.
During mandatory orientation sessions, Parks Canada staff do their best to prepare hikers for the rugged reality of the West Coast Trail.
Don't take you off the trail because you have blisters.
They note that rescue teams are in place only to deal with medical emergencies on the trail, and there are no shortage of these. With 38 steep ladder structures, suspension bridges, aerial tramways, tidal surge channels, slippery trail sections, unpredictable weather, and a host of other challenges for even the most experienced hikers.
Yeah, was it, guys? That was awesome.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
There's a little narrow shelf. I've got a hike in behind me there. You got to know your tides to get past here. If you go down a tide that's too high, then these waves are going to wash the shelf. And you've got only about 3 or 4 inches wide of terrain to get past. You can go up high and hike around the trail and get around this, but a lot of people like the adventure to hike over the rock and through the surge channels like this.
Jeff arrives at Cribbs Creek, and as usual, the surf is high.
You know, this is more of a surfer's paradise than a place to land and pick somebody up in a small boat. So we just don't do it. Sorry to hear about your knee. How's it feeling?
Like by the end of yesterday, I could barely walk on it.
Yeah. Just up the beach, Emily and her hiking partner Ivan are found nursing their pride and lamenting the need for evacuation.
But it's hard because, like, at this instant, I'm like, I could do a bit more. But like by the end of the day yesterday, I could barely bend it.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
No.
We're being proactive.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. It's probably the hardest thing for people is actually getting over just having to leave the trail early. But we did see gray whales out there. We're gonna have a really good boat ride home.
Cool. Okay.
So that'll be fun. Not everybody gets a boat ride.
I know.
Yeah. How does it feel at your...
Jeff surveys Emily's knee and confirms that she is able to hike the 2 kilometers to the Carmana Lighthouse for pickup.
Oh, yeah, no, good call. Yeah.
Shannon reports in from the rescue mission at Campers Creek.
Go ahead, Shannon. Okay, I'm about 10 minutes from Carmana, and Emily and Ivan are taking their own time behind me. Good, Emily's pack. I'm hiking back to Carmana. You let them go at their own pace because she's really close to not being able to move that knee at all. She's devastated, obviously, about having to leave the trail early. So we'll try to make her feel better about making the right decision and not getting stuck somewhere where we can't get in and get her.
Within 2 hours, both missions are over, and the team is back at the SAR base.
All in all, it worked out really well. It took about 5 hours to complete those 2, and the weather was somewhat cooperative with us. And now we're ready to go and get back out there again in case something else comes up.
The West Coast Trail. It's wild. This is bear and cougar country. There's no bus, no taxi. In some places, you can barely walk. One slip, one twist is all it takes, and you're stuck. And then, for you, the most beautiful sight on this trail is a Parks Canada search and rescue team coming to take you home. Now, getting to know the West Coast Trail.
It's covered with roots, uneven footing, lots of mud, and the infamous ladders that seem to stretch up into the heavens.
Back in 1906, they carved a rudimentary trail through West Coast temperate rainforest and pieced it together from old First Nations trails and game trails and whatever else existed.
This trail is very rugged and very long.
There's a lot of creek crossings, there's cable cars, there's a suspension bridge, there's tons of slippery, mossy boardwalk.
It's covered with roots, uneven footing, lots of mud, and the infamous ladders that seem to stretch up into the heavens.
It's endurance. It's 5, 6, 7 days of straight hiking.
It was never designed to be an easy trail to hike from start to finish. It was just primarily some access through crazy rugged terrain.
For over 35 years, Parks Canada Search and Rescue have been responding to callouts on the West Coast Trail. From May to October each year, over 7,000 enthusiastic hikers set out to conquer 75 kilometers of one of the world's most demanding wilderness experiences.
It's a real test of a person's mindset and their survival mode, you know, to stay thinking positive and just to try to make it through.
Some people have never had a wilderness experience, and this is their very first one. I don't know how to describe it, but you see it on their faces. They're absolutely shell-shocked at how hard it is, and it's very, very, very hard.
The search and rescue station, where the 5 team members live and work through 8-day, 24-hour shifts, is located at the south end of the trail in Port Renfrew. Here, the 2-person rescue teams are closer to the most difficult portion of the trail, where the better part of an average of 100 callouts per season occur.
The hardest part of our job is often just trying to figure out where exactly the hiker is.
There are many unique challenges for these medical rescue specialists. Unforgiving coastal terrain, extreme weather, dangerous ocean swells, and deadly marine environments demand constant training and equipment maintenance. Being a new recruit on this team can be quite an adventure.
I was actually in disbelief. I thought they were running a scenario on me. It was my very first day here. And Rick comes up behind me and he said, "Okay, Sibs, you gotta get ready. You know, we got a call." So I just got everything together, got ready, got my pack, and we were on our way.
It's a steep learning curve in learning where we can access certain areas on the trail, what time of day, what kind of tide, whether it's foggy. It takes many months of training, learning how to handle our small surf boat, making sure you can row in through the surf onto the beach safely, and be able to pick up a patient, put them in the boat, and get them safely back out through the surf zone.
There's a lot of sprains, twisted ankles, knees, shoulders, some illness. We've had some pneumonia on the trail, or suspected pneumonia. So things have been pretty minor so far this season, which has been good. It's been a really good warm-up to everything.
2 things that we look at when we're training up a new person. The one dynamic where it's somebody that needs to develop skills as quickly as possible in terms of how to make urgency determinations and where she can and can't go at her skill level. The other dynamic is that we have somebody training that person. So that person is also learning a tremendous amount about being able to pass that knowledge on.
When training Sibylla, I'm trying to instill in her that looking after the equipment is absolutely key. Secondly, I'm trying to hammer home the idea of getting our systems down, so we do it this way and we do it the same every single time, so that when it becomes stressful, you can fall back on that training.
You know, just by working together and communicating efficiently and you know, showing that we're a team, I think, you know, people are looking and they're like, okay, I can trust these people. Yeah.
The team here has been training me up really well, giving me time to learn those skills, but also giving me the opportunity to test my limits a little bit and to find a level where I've been humbled a couple times. So it's great, yeah.
Tell her we're just trying to decide.
Mostly what they're trying to provide Sibylla this year is hands-on experience with the first aid and then a ton of experience with the local knowledge. So every chance we get when we're out there, trying to pass on as much local knowledge as we can to Sibylla.
Just seeing what that boat is capable of is really good as well. I've always been a little bit afraid of those big ribs, so yeah, I trust it more now.
You are alone. A lot of days you get out on the boat and it's a big sea and you look around and you feel pretty small out there on the ocean. There's nobody else around, and when you land on the beach, you're the only one in the area too. So you also have to be very careful of your own personal safety.
The seas kick up, the winds kick up. Sometimes it's, you know, engine failure, or, you know, you've hit something in the ocean. You just never know really what you're in for. So for me, I think being on the water is a very humbling experience, and you really just have to be on top of your game.
It's not like driving a car. You can't just sit back and cruise. You're constantly watching the waves, and the waves are always changing. There's different refraction off the rocks, the wind direction's changing, the swell is changing. So you're always trying to adjust to the different waves and driving.
You're trying to allow this person to have these experiences where they're working on the edge and they're pushing their limits, and their limits are butting up against something that could cause them harm. So you need to constantly monitor where they're at in terms of their comfort level and skill level. So you know they're bumping up against the edge, but they're not passing it.
The surf zone is like the worst part of this whole thing. I haven't swamped the boat, like I haven't turned one over. I've been learning a lot from everybody else's stories. I surf, so I've been in some scary situations surfing. So I have a real firm respect for the water and how fast it can take you down.
You can be sitting out 100 meters from shore and it's, you know, fairly calm, but on the beach itself, the surf is just pounding. It rises up and just pounds. Most of us have been slammed there once or twice, where you're rowing ashore and everything seems good, and all of a sudden you're 6 feet above the beach, and then all of a sudden you're slammed, you're on the beach and it's dry underneath you and you made it, but you still got to get back out to your boat. And you don't want to do that with a patient on board.
A lot of this stuff I'm just learning on the fly as I experience it. So yeah, that's pretty much how you learn things here, is trial by fire.
Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Callout, Nelson Sarr rescues an overly curious canine who was tumbled off a cliff.
We're just putting together a rope team right now to go up. We don't typically do rope rescues for animals.
And later, Sarr dogs and handlers alike vie for tracking certification.
By virtue of fun training through this dog, this is what he learns to do. Dog learns to work, but it's all fun. They get that mentality that they want to go to work.
Monday, 1 p.m. Nelson Search and Rescue was called out to the base of Pulpit Rock, a popular hiking destination located just outside of town. Injuries on this challenging trail are not uncommon, but this rescue is.
Apparently a canine has walked off the cliff and become stuck on a ledge. So we're just putting together a rope team right now to go up and see what we can do.
The grueling hike is equivalent to climbing 121 stories and takes about 45 minutes if you're in good shape. Once at the top, the team assesses the situation. Finley, a 1.5-year-old golden retriever, was on a hike with his owners when something caught his eye.
He just took off, and he's 18 months old, so he's hard to control. And this particular day, he decided to just go after whatever he got scent of, and he just went right over the rock.
As luck would have it, the very last ledge on the cliff face has stopped him from falling to certain death.
He would have continued down for probably another 200 or 300 feet to the bottom onto jagged rock. So, you know, his fall, if he'd fallen the whole way off Pulpit Rock, very unlikely he would have survived.
So Finley's a 90-pound dog, and he's about 15 meters down the cliff. So we're just setting up right now, do a rope system, get over there and see if we can bundle him up.
2 rope technicians from Rosslyn Search and Rescue have arrived to assist Nelson's crew.
He's gonna his fall lines right here.
For this type of a rope rescue, we need 6 trained, certified members. If we don't have them initially on scene, the call has gone out. Members are coming from other areas to come and fulfill those positions.
In this setup, the rope technicians will be tasked with lowering and raising the line. Team leader Chris Armstrong will act as the edge person located at the top of the cliff. He will give the commands and relay any communication between the rope technicians and the attendant below.
You know, that tree's fine by me.
Bruce Gardave will act as attendant.
Part of my job is to check all my anchors for what the team's secured against, just to make sure that it's strong enough to support my weight and hold our 10-to-1 ratio as we go over the edge.
Good to go?
It's good to go.
For every 100 pounds, we have to have a 1,000-pound backup.
A large group of hikers gathers to watch the rescue unfold.
We were quite concerned. You know, he's like a member of our family. We were pretty upset, and but at the same time, very grateful that search and rescue was there.
Lower away.
Bruce is carefully lowered. Underneath him looms a deadly drop into a bed of sharp rocks and jagged pine trees.
For most people, it looks fairly vertical. Actually, the inclination of the slope was maybe in somewhere of the range of 60 degrees.
Little more slack.
The dog had been down there quite a long time, so it had been getting quite anxious, trying to move, trying to figure out, obviously, a way to get back up.
You're good.
You know, the worst case in that situation, especially with an animal, someone you can't communicate with, you get worried that they're going to get excited, they're going to start moving around, and then they're going to slip off. And that would be a horrible situation for everybody involved.
Is he hurt at all?
Just having a look, hang on.
I really try and calm the dog down. I try and speak to it. I call its name, just so that it calms down and it will hopefully stay where it's at.
So Bruce is at the dog right now. He's just calming him, checking him out. We're just waiting for a dog PFD to actually put on the animal to use as a harness to get him up. He's quite a large dog, so having that PFD will help a lot.
The life jacket, donated by a local pet store, arrives and is slid down on Bruce's line.
You know, the dog was a good-natured dog, and he actually did allow me to do the work that needed to be done. And I think it comes from the dog's understanding that he needs some help here, that he's not going anywhere on his own. So once the PFD was secured, I added a secondary webbing harness because the PFD is not designed for vertical lift.
Haul team ready? Ready. Attendant.
With the makeshift harness in place, the team prepares to haul Bruce and Finley up.
Raise.
Everything goes smoothly, at first.
I knew looking up that I'd be in for a bit of a trial. There was one of the ledges that was about 5 feet.
Stop!
And the biggest difficulty is the ropes pulling over that one ledge.
We're vertical now.
Are your feet touching?
He's away from the rock. He's free hanging.
Can you get your feet enough so you can push off?
Physically, from the free hanging position, it was not going to be possible for me to lift a 90-pound dog with my 2 hands and no feet at all, up and over my head, to bring it up to the ledge.
They're resetting, Bruce, so just give a sec. How much tail we got there?
Rope rescues are never straightforward. When Bruce was coming up the line, he couldn't physically lift the dog over top of the edge. When things like this happen, teams need to be organized and ready to act.
We were watching closely as the situation unfolded, and we knew that he was hung up because we could hear all the search and rescue guys talking amongst themselves.
Ready? Okay, they're ready, Bruce.
Chris makes the decision to send a rope technician down to help Bruce.
Attendants, ready? Okay, prepare to raise. Raising. Oh, looks good, looks good. There we go.
He was able to hold my line out, and we were able to then push the dog up and over the ledge and get him on top.
I know.
Shortest length.
We need 3 more feet. Hauling.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Once that was done, then it was pretty clear sailing up to the top.
I was relieved to see him. I wanted to cry. We had a group of onlookers, and everyone was on the verge of tears. So I was just trying to hold it together because I wanted to make sure he was okay.
And you're free, buddy. There you go.
Finley scampers off to his grateful owners. But he's not out of the woods just yet. Finley is hurt.
We could see that he had quite a limp in his hind quarter. I once taken an animal first aid course, so I checked his gums to see what his pressure was like. I felt his leg, his range of motion.
At the beginning, we didn't believe that he'd even sustained any injury, but as it turned out, he fractured his pelvis in 3 different places.
Luckily, there's an access road nearby where a SAR vehicle can pick them up.
I did this at a stag party.
Yeah.
But I think it was a goat or something.
It was a goat?
And it wasn't sticking its wet penis in the
Chris and Jordan take turns piggybacking the 90-pound dog.
Well, it seemed like a good decision to carry Finley down the mountain, but a 30-plus degree day, a hot dog wrapped around your neck, trying to keep his jewels out of my ear. There's a lot of hazards in search and rescue you never think about.
We're just waiting right now for the truck to come up and give us a ride down. All was successful, went really well.
What a relief that we have people that want to help us like that, and animals, like, especially.
Back on 4 paws, Finley is as happy-go-lucky as ever, blissfully unaware of the life and limb risked for his rescue.
In situations like this, where we're doing an animal rescue, the government will cover our liability, but all our expenses are to our own. Our members that come out, the equipment we use, our time, none of it's covered.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Despite the costs, search and rescue members choose to respond to these calls, simply because if they don't, someone with less experience will.
What would have probably happened is that, myself and my friend would have gotten some ropes, and search and rescue would have been rescuing us, a short time later, kind of thing. So we were pretty happy that they decided to come and assist us.
Look what we got for you. Look at Finley.
Now, SAR dogs and handlers vie for tracking certification.
Good dog! Good dog! Good dog!
A teenage boy has gone missing in the woods. Time is ticking away. Thankfully, searchers have a powerful tracking tool at their disposal, one that zeroes in on its target with proven accuracy. Luke, the golden retriever. Luke is not your average house pet. He is a certified SAR dog, trained to help search and rescue crews locate missing subjects. Like humans, Luke is sensing smells with his olfactory epithelium, an organ loaded with sensory neurons. But his is about 17 times the size of ours, and at least 1 million times more sensitive. This allows him to detect diluted scents in the air, ones that we humans cannot even perceive. What does it take to become a search and rescue dog? These unassuming family pets are about to find out.
2 steps back, 2 more.
They're participating in an orientation course with their owners at the base of Mount Washington on Vancouver Island. When 23 dogs meet for the first time, a bit of mayhem is inevitable.
When you get that aggression is constant, so you want to put him in a non-dominating place, okay? Put him down right beside you.
Staff Sergeant Dave Wood, program manager for the RCMP's Police Dog Service, has assessed countless potential SAR dogs and their hopeful handlers over the years. He and other instructors will not only be scrutinizing the dogs today, they will also be observing the handlers.
Handlers advance.
Handlers have to be active members of a local SAR team, be physically fit, and have a good understanding of ground search practices including navigation, survival, and first aid. As for the dogs, they must pass basic obedience, but most importantly, they should enjoy the work.
By virtue of fun training through this dog, this is what he learns to do. Dog learns to work, but it's all fun. They get that mentality that they want to go to work.
For this introductory course, each dog will be trained individually for minimal distraction. Up first are handler Gundula Briegel and her Belgian Shepherd Kia.
We're going to get the dog ginned up here. The handler is going to run away and hide just behind the tree, the very first step of search dog training and assessing for drive.
The prey drive is the instinctive behavior in certain dogs to pursue and capture prey. To test Kia's prey drive, Gundula gets her wound up. Dogs with high prey drive make the best SAR dogs, as it keeps them searching for long hours. Kia is learning that finding the quarry, in this case her owner, comes with a reward. Verbal praise from some very ecstatic humans. This serves to reinforce her desire to perform well.
You concentrate on keeping her focused on him.
Down the road, another dog handler team is being put to the test. Nanaimo search and rescue member Clifton Pinder and his duck-tolling retriever, Yana.
Look what I got for you. Look what I got.
Yana has so far shown the same enthusiasm as Kia, but will she demonstrate strong prey drive when the quarry is not her owner, but a total stranger?
Come on. Let's go find him.
The light really hasn't come on for this dog yet, and we've taken it about 3 steps, and we can't get it beyond 3 steps. So we'll give it a rest for the rest of the day.
We're first timers. I'm just getting a feel for what the search dog world is all about, and Yana's learning a little bit about that too. I'm having a great time with Yana.
For Alan Dennis and his dog Chester, a more experienced duo, the stakes are raised.
Yeah, we'll do the 1 minute where the quarry running away, and then take the dog away for a minute, come back, sit him down, shoot him up.
After watching the quarry race off, Chester is taken away and distracted for 1 full minute.
Now the object is, after 1 minute, can you bring the dog back? Will the dog focus? Does the dog understand what it's supposed to do? If it does well after 1 minute, then we take them out of sight for 3 minutes. Same scenario.
Search!
Good dog! Good dog! Good dog!
Chester passes with flying colors. The instructors up the ante.
So now it's the unknown. We'll see how that goes.
This time, only the handler will be shown who and where the quarry is.
Search!
Chester will have to rely entirely on his nose.
Went down all the way to the ski hill, turned uphill, and caught the scent pattern and beetled right in. Yeah, and it's pretty strong wind, so probably about 30 or 40 feet away, the scent cone was evident to the dog, and then it followed it into the person.
Who's a smart boy, Chester? Who's a smart boy?
At any given moment, our bodies shed millions of skin cells called rafts. These, as well as other scent molecules from our bodies, get carried by air currents and create what is called a scent cone. When air-scenting dogs such as Chester come across it, they're trained to follow the scent back to its source, where it is the most concentrated. The handler's job is to establish effective search patterns until the dog picks up a trail.
Up this way.
For example, if someone is lost in the woods and the dog searches with the wind at his back, he will not detect the scent cone. Handlers must therefore work their way up against the wind in a perpendicular route. To illustrate the effects of the wind, instructor Roy Fawcett uses a smoke bomb.
So this is what scent would come off a body or a person or an article that's in the woods. This is what the wind would be doing to it. You have to be cognizant all the time, especially when you're doing searches in the mountains, because you get swirling wind and you have to think, okay, somewhere in here I had a wind change. I may want to go back and research.
On the first hit, we want a little more distance, so we get
RCMP Staff Sergeant Dave Wood is teaching the same principles to his group, but on more difficult terrain.
Ready? Let's search. Good.
We're in a tight grid because your scent to the wind factor is pretty stale in here, pretty stagnant, and so that he's got to manage his area, ensure that his area is covered, and watch the ranging aspect of his dog, watch his behavior of his dog.
When air scenting, dogs are non-discriminating and will follow any human scent that they detect. This approach is useful when the point last seen of the missing subject is unknown. Not far away, another group is working on a different skill, tracking. If the point last seen is known, this is the preferred method.
They're going to lay a track in the field. We're going to let it age for 15 or 20 minutes just to let the scent die down. And then we'll come with the dog, we'll start at the scent pad, and we'll follow the track into the bush. Right now what we want is the track to age, because normally we get there at some point an hour, 2 hours after the person has gone missing, so we want to simulate that as close as possible.
The dog is exposed to a sample of the subject's scent, such as an article of clothing or a footprint. With their nose to the ground, tracking dogs follow not only the subject's tracks, but also smells from freshly broken twigs, crushed grass, and trampled insects. Although air scenting and tracking skills are taught separately on this orientation course, in a real-life situation, experienced SAR dogs will commonly switch between the two to problem solve and find their subject.
Start with Roy's and Chris's new dog puppy group, and we'll just review the dogs for Dave.
It's now time for the instructors to go over their assessments.
So Ron seemed happy with both dogs.
The standard for dogs is high, and it is just as high for the handlers.
One handler needs some management, bush management skills, and I think that's got to be told to their SAR group.
Some of the handlers will receive disappointing news tonight, but others will be encouraged to pursue validation, after which they can further specialize in avalanches, water, or urban disaster searches. As for Yana, she's not quite ready for the SAR world, but with more time and hard work, she stands a very good chance of joining the effort to save lives. After all, every dog has its day. Callout Search and Rescue features real stories, filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions.